Hey guys, I'm BAC1 again, and sorry for the lack of videos. I've just been really focused on schoolwork, but this week I'm going to kind of make up for it. I'm going to have this video plus 2 or 3 other ones I'm going to upload this week. So this is going to be my Seismitoad Garbodor list. It's actually pretty similar to Jason Klaczynski's list from Nationals, but I don't think a lot of people realize, but that list was actually really good. There's just some changes I made to it that I think are better for the upcoming metagame at Worlds, now that the deck is going to be a little bit more popular. So this is the list. So the Pokemon line is pretty straightforward. You have this 4 Seismitoad EX as usual. 4 is just kind of the number you need. Starting with it is pretty much your best option in most matchups. The only time you really don't want to is if you're going second and your opponent plays Hypnotoxic Laser, or if they play Headringer, it can be hard. But the Garbodor line is just 2-2. You can start with Trubbish against those decks that I just mentioned. Trubbish actually serves as like a 7th prize card sometimes too. The 7 prize trade type thing, so they have to knock out it and then 3 EXs instead of just 3 EXs, so it can serve that purpose as well as just shutting off abilities, which is also really strong. And then 1 Shaman and 1 Jirachi. This is a little bit different from the list that people are used to because people usually like the 2nd Shaman instead of 1 Jirachi, and I just prefer 1 Jirachi because it's going to get me more cards in certain situations. I found with this deck I just couldn't burn enough cards out of my hand sometimes, and when I did and I had Ultra Ball, I just needed to get a Jirachi instead because that way I could draw more than like 2 or 3 cards, which is basically what I could only get sometimes when I had the second, when I had only Shames in my deck. So I would just put the 2nd Jirachi in for that reason. Also can get you all your 1-of supporters, or even your just like weird tech supporters like Flare Grunt, Xerosic, and AZ if you run it, things like that. So Jirachi is good for that. But Shaman is also strong. So that's it for the Pokemon line. Supporters, I mean not supporters, stadiums, just 3 Riverbank. Stadium wars are pretty prevalent right now. I'd actually even think about going up to 4, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, stadium wars are just huge right now. It's like everyone's running at least 3 stadiums in all their decks, it seems like. So I think 3 is absolutely necessary. Supporters are just 4 Juniper, 4 N, 1 Chorus, 3 Seeker to get back anything, 2 Lysander, 2 Flare Grunt, 1 Xerosic, and 1 Shadow Triad. It's a lot of supporters. I just count verse Seekers as supporters because that's all I do is get back supporters anyway. 4 Juniper, just because you need that super consistency to draw whatever you need whenever you need it. You know, probably best supporter in the format. 4 N, also just for consistency, you can't really run any less than that. 1 Chorus is just to draw lots of cards mid to late game. Chorus isn't super good in this deck because you don't end up benching a lot of Pokemon early game usually, so you can Chorus for low amounts sometimes, but occasionally it can get you a lot of cards. Not even occasionally, a lot of the time it can get you a lot of cards, and can be really good. I actually had a 2nd Chorus for a little bit, but realized I needed to cut that for a Jirachi, because Jirachi is kind of just better, I think. And then 3 VS Seeker to get back any of these. A lot of people are saying you should run 4, but I noticed when I was running 4, a lot of the time I had it in one of my just opening hands, and I just had to discard it anyway, so it was as if I was only running 3 and I just didn't get to use it. And I don't think people really take that into account a lot of the time. They just say you should put 4 Verse Seeker in every deck. But when you're not running like Battle Compressor or anything like that, then it can just kind of be a dead card in your hands a lot. And I just don't feel like I ever really needed the 4. 3 was always fine for me. I never really felt like 4 was really needed in the deck. And then 1 Xerosic is mostly just for the Seismitoad mirror match. If your opponent is playing Toad, you can Xerosic off their Muscle Band or their Double Colorless, and then just get an advantage that way. Also helpful against other decks because you can Xerosic off tools and then replace them with Headringers, since this deck does have Headringers, or just remove Special Energy. Xerosic's just kind of a weird tech card that helps in a lot of different matchups, just in different situations. Team Flare Grunt, also helpful in the mirror match, but also helpful in the Venusian Genesect matchup, which can be kind of tough. And by kind of tough, I mean really tough. But running the second Flare Grunt instead of an AZ gives you a slightly better matchup against that, because I think some people will use it at Worlds and it may pick up some play again, because Groudon, Kyogre, and Seismitoad are all weak to grass, and there's ways you can run the deck to make it so that it beats some of its worst matchups as well. So Freezing Genesect could see play, and I feel like I want to have a second Flare Grunt to help in that matchup. And just in general, Flare Grunt is really strong with Seismitoad, so I felt like a second Flare Grunt was a better option than a second AZ, or than an AZ, as Jason had it. And then one Shadow Triad I think is really good because you only run the 4 lasers and there's no trump now, so if you run out of lasers, this deck doesn't do very much damage, so you kind of need a way to keep the damage output going. So Shadow Triad works as a healthy way for the deck to keep putting damage out. It also can get back Chorus sometimes, but that's rare. But just for getting lasers back, Shadow Triad is strong. And then 2 Lysander to bring up whatever you want. I like 3, but this deck only really needs 2. I think 2 has never really been too little for me. I think that's probably the perfect number. And that's it for the supporters. I've tested this supporter line like a lot. I really like it. And then for items, we got 1 Comm Search. Best A spec, pretty much standard in most decks. I guess Christy Britton and some other people from California were actually using Rock Guard in their Seismitoad decks, but I just kept Computer Search because it's consistent, and if you're running Computer Search, it's gonna like up your chances of getting that turn 1 double colorless energy by a little bit, and I just think it's worth the consistency. I know Rock Guard is like really strong if you can get it down, but just Comm Search is more consistent, and I think that's going to be more important in a tournament like Worlds, where you have so many rounds and you need that consistency. 1 Enhanced Hammer. I even thought about going up to 2. Enhanced Hammer is really strong in this deck. I just found it helpful in a lot of matchups, like Raichu, Metal Rayquaza, kind of just anything that runs special energy. It's really helpful for getting those off, because they can't really avoid attaching them a lot of the time, especially against decks that like run double colorless energy, and you can like headringer them, and then they're forced to use the double colorless energy as a way to get more energy down. And it's also good against just regular metal. It's just helpful in a bunch of matchups, and even just random weird matchups that you don't expect to hit, like fairies and stuff like that. 3 Floatstone. This is your only way to switch, which kind of sucks. I kind of want a 1 switch in this deck, just because only having 3 switching cards, and they're all actually just retreat cards. None of them are real switching cards, if that makes sense. So yeah, this is all you have. It's kind of light. I feel like I want 1 more switching card somehow, but this is all I can really fit for now, and it's consistent number for getting on Trubbish. Definitely don't go down to 2. I would not recommend that at all. Then 4 Crushing Hammer, just a lot of Energy Denial. Energy Denial is really strong with Seismitoad. Don't really feel like I need to explain that too much, it's just really strong. 4 Lasers, this is your main damage modifier that's going to help you the most. Just makes you do a ton of damage. If you can put them to sleep, it's super helpful. This deck is ridiculous when you put someone to sleep and they don't wake up off laser. You pretty much just, it seems like if that happens like once or twice in a game, you're pretty much almost always going to win it, just because they're set back like an entire turn. They can't do anything. So 3 Muscle Band, you just need that extra damage output. I don't think you really need anything more than 3. You only have 4 attackers in the deck, so 3 is fine. 4 Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is just to get you any of your Pokemon you need, get you that Jirachi, that Shaman too if you want. Just versatile, get you whatever you need. 2 Headringer, this is just for anything really. Headringer is just strong. People really aren't that prepared for it right now because not very many decks are running Headringer, so it can kind of take people by surprise and they're not really going to be prepared for it. Usually it's helpful in some of your tougher matchups, like if you go against a Cobalion EX, you can put a Headringer on it so it needs 2 energy instead of 1, which is helpful because Cobalion can be a really big pain. Mirror Match, if you get a Headringer down on their Toad and they have no way to get it off, it seems like you're going to win that game a lot of the time, so it's just helpful in a lot of different matchups for a lot of different reasons. Headringer is just a really strong card. That is it for the items. And then for energy, just 4 double colorless and 3 water. Pretty standard. You don't really need more than that. 4 water is nice, but I don't really feel like you need it too much. Finishing games out with Grenade Hammer happens kind of frequently with this deck for me. So I feel like the water energy are definitely needed. And if your opponent runs like energy denial and stuff, you could even run out of double colorless energy if you don't run the water energy. So I think they're very important. Alright, that's going to be it for this list. I'm going to have a Raichu list up tomorrow or the next day, and then I'm going to have a matchup of this list and the Raichu list going against each other, and kind of show you guys how the matchup goes, because I've heard from multiple people that they think Raichu wins the matchup, and multiple people think that Seismitoad Garbodor is going to win the matchup, so I thought I would actually just play it out and show you guys how it goes between two good players. So I'm going to do a Raichu list that doesn't run Halucha, so that may make a difference. But yeah, I'll show you guys that list in a couple days, and then have that video between the two decks up in a couple days after that. So thanks for watching. Like the video if you like the video, comment if you want to tell me something, and subscribe for more.